The gradient tool works with any two colors that are listed here on the foreground and background color. Whichever color is showing in the foreground is the color that begins the gradient. So let me show you really quickly. I've created a new blank layer. I'll show you. See, there's nothing on these layers. And I'm going to magic wand one part of the frame at a time. And I want it to be a metallic gradient, so I'm going to use black and white, and I'm just going to reset this with the little reset key. So this is Photoshop black and Photoshop white. I'll switch to the gradient command here. That's G on your keyboard, and it's stacked with the paint bucket and the 3D material drop tool here too, but I'm going to use the gradient tool. And the way the gradient tool works is within your pre-selected area, if you pick and drag a little line, because I'm dragging from right to left, the foreground color, which is black, will be the beginning color you see, and it will blend or gradient towards the white color and grayscale, in percentages of grayscale, and that percentage will vary depending on the length of the line that I create here. So if I drag and drop it from just before the selected area to about midpoint in the frame, I get this nice beautiful gradient. And the reason that I know to do it that length of time is just practice, trial and error, trial and error. So I'm going to show you a couple more times. This time I'm going to pre-select the right side of this frame, and I'll go back to the gradient tool, and I'm picking just to the left of the selected area, and I'm dragging and dropping. And it doesn't matter if you're dragging or and dropping from left to right or right to left. It's wherever you start the line is where the foreground color begins. So I'm just picking, dragging a short line, and dropping. And go down here. Now my settings up here, I'm using the cylinder gradient, and I'm on normal, and my opacity is 100%. Let's look at one more example. Let's do a plate over here. I'm going to make a new layer. Gradient plate. And I'm going to switch my colors. Instead of using black and white, I'm going to use yellow. So I have sort of a gold color. And I will use my magic wand. I'm just going to pick the outside. Well, maybe I'll pick all parts of the plate, and I have to get here in between the candelabras, and to add to the selection, I'm just holding down the shift key. This time when I go to the gradient, I can either do the very first linear gradient option on the options panel like this, or I could do a more the next one, which is a radial. And maybe if I switch these, the yellow will go out to the side. There we go. And then if so again, this was the radial gradient. It was on normal and opacity was 100%. But if I switch this to multiply, and then I take the opacity down to 30%, and then I give it a slightly different or darker color, a little bit, there we go. I can keep building on this value. So, and just until you get it exactly the way that you want. That's all you have to, and then Command D or Control D, depending on, if you're on a Mac, it's always Command. If you're on a PC, it's always Control. I hope that helped.